On behalf of the board of WEA Cymru, a very warm welcome to you and thank you for attending this launch. For the few of you who may not know me, I'm Maggie Dawson and I've got the great honour of being the first CEO of WEA Cymru. You have some background information in your pack as to the vision and mission, our aims and our principles, but also the benefits arising from the merger. Our merged organisation serves 14,000 learners across Wales. It's actually up since the original press release that we put out. I'd underestimated our reach. With the aim to reach over 20,000 next academic year. So we're not looking to be static, we're looking to grow even in our first year of being the merged organisation. As an average across the organisation, 45% of our learners are classed as deprived in some way or other, and in some of the counties, such as Blaen y Gwent, this figure rises to almost 90%. Our focus remains on providing second chance learning to adults in a community or workplace setting. Our new all-Wales body will build on the good practice of both of the legacy organisations. We will stimulate innovation. We will support education as a basis for long-term strategies for social justice and social cohesion. We will promote community engagement and equalities. We will provide an excellent learning experience consistently across Wales. The learning process, which is the WEA way, is one which aims to be participatory and empowering, leading to a variety of outcomes relating to employability and qualifications, to skills development, to health and well-being, to critical understanding, to active citizenship and learning for learning's sake. Our speakers will no doubt elucidate further on these things. On that note, may I introduce Rob Humphreys, the Chair of WEA Cymru and Director of the Open University in Wales, who was appointed by the Minister to lead us through the final stages of merger, which he's done with humour, tenacity and considerable generosity of his own personal time.
Nanda, cyfeillion. Mae heddi yn ddiwrnod pwysig I addysg ydolion yng Nghymru. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a very, very important day for adult education in Wales. Indeed, I would say this is an important day for education and wider society in Wales. It has been my privilege to contribute in a small way to the merger of Coleg Harlech WEA North Wales and WEA South Wales over the last 6 or 7 months, and it will be my privilege to be the first ever chair of the governing body of WEA Cymru, and I can't say just how much of a privilege I feel that to be. I want to start with a couple of thanks, and apologies if this seems rather internally focused, but I would like to thank John Parry and Jeremy Gass, the chairs of the two predecessor organisations, who've supported me and other colleagues on the Shadow Board over many hours, weeks, months in order to secure this merger, and they've each contributed in a very significant way to their respective organisations over recent years. Secondly, and I'll save some of this for later when the Minister arrives, I would like to thank the officials from the Welsh Government who have also supported the merger process with equal tenacity, as the word that Maggie used, in recent months, without whom we would not be here, got as far as this today. I have some remarks to make about the future later on, which I'll save until towards the end. and I must apologise in advance for my very bad cough today. Someone somewhere in Cardiff is carving a memorial stone which says he was sacrificed in the name of WEA Cymru, but there we are. It's a noble sacrifice that I'm making, ladies and gentlemen. But for now, can I introduce, first of all, Dr. Jeremy Gass, the chair of what was WEA South Wales, who's going to talk a little bit about both the past and, I think, the future. Jeremy.
So the title that John and I have been asked to speak to is The Route to Merger. On the face of it, this should be a simple task. However, it rather depends on how far back you want to go in history. And I thought it was worthwhile just considering a little bit about the early days of the WEA. Maggie talked about how when the WEA began here, just a bit before this building was built. The WEA began in England 110 years ago, and in a way, history is repeating itself today. That's because in 1907, the WEA South Wales district of what was then the UK-wide WEA was formed following a branch being set up in Barry, which was where the first WEA class took place in Wales. But 3 years later, in 1910, the South Wales district was changed to cover the whole of Wales. So we had a Wales district of the WEA. Now that situation lasted until the middle of the 1920s, or sometime in the 1920s. I was trying to find out a bit about this last night, and I picked up from my shelves the 75th anniversary publication of the WEA in South Wales in 1982. But unfortunately, Cled Phillips, who was writing an article in there, didn't explain exactly when in the 20s or why the decision was made to break up the Wales district into North and South Wales districts. So enough of the history, or the early history. Whilst today marks the culmination of 3 to 4 years of formal discussion between Coleg WEA North and WEA South Wales, the idea of merger was under discussion certainly in the 1990s before WEA North Wales merged with Coleg Harlech. And it probably had happened before. My memory goes back certainly to the mid-1980s, but it was the 1990s where we had staff discussions and we had meetings between the voluntary members in North and South Wales, and the idea of coming together to form a national organisation was under discussion then. I remember also in 1999 Val Feld, who some of you will remember, who was the assembly member, one of the Swansea assembly members, saying to me, "Jeremy, it's time now that we've got the assembly that the two WAs came together. It's ridiculous that we've got two WAs in Wales. We need a national organisation. The WA must do something about it." I think she thought I should do something about it as well, probably knowing Val. So here we are, we've done it. I think Val would have been rather disappointed that it's taken us this long to get here. I just want to say a little bit about the process of merger. This has involved compromises being made by both parties to the merger, particularly in relation to our structure or system of governance. We came from two different traditions. Coleg Harlech WA North had an all-appointed governing body, and in the south, our governing body was all elected. This was something of a tension to begin with, and it's taken a while to reach a compromise position where now you'll see a piece in the pack which talks briefly about this. We have 9 appointed governors and 11 elected governors. Those elected governors will join us in March when we hold our first AGM. So at present we have the 9 members appointed who have been in the shadow board, and we will be working until the AGM when we'll be joined by a group of 11 elected members, as I've mentioned. I want to make some acknowledgements. Rob has already done a bit of this, but no harm to repeat it. I'd like to acknowledge the role of the Welsh Government in both stimulating us to get to where we are now through their policy of transformation in the further education sector, and for their significant contribution towards the cost of the merger. The civil servants who've been involved for their encouragement, sometimes their cajoling, and mostly their patience. Colleagues in WEA South Wales who have been involved in the discussions between the two organisations, two of whom aren't here today, Gareth Morris and Hugh Williams, former chair before me, and fellow members of the Shadow Board from South Wales, Viv Davis, who's here today, and Chris Franks, who gives his apologies. Fellow members of WEA South Wales Council, some of whom are here today, it's good to see you here. Thank you for the trust that you've shown us, your representatives on the Shadow Board, and for your ongoing and reasonably critical support. Also, the WA members who came in force to our extraordinary general meeting in October, 100% of whom gave their backing for merger. I'd like to thank Stephen Thomas, our clerk, for his work behind the scenes and his negotiations with lawyers on our behalf and scurrying backwards and forwards to get things signed and all the right pieces of paper in the right place at the right time. WA staff from both North and South for your commitment to the process and the work that's gone in through all the staff working groups towards the merger. Fellow members of the Shadow Board, and especially our independent chair, Rob Humphreys, for his skill and commitment in steering us to where we are now. And finally, Maggie Dawson for her leadership and tireless work rate. Dwi'n edrych ymlaen at gymdaithas newydd sy'n ymateb I flaenoriaethau Llywodraeth Cymru fel sgiliau sylfaenol a sgiliau am waith, ond sydd hefyd yn cefnogi yr iaith Cymraeg a'r diwylliant Cymreig, hybu cyfiawnder cymdeithasol a dysgu am ddemocratiaeth. Diolch yn fawr.